stop transmuting bad feelings into good ones. Stop it. Just because an idea is labeled as New Age or spiritual doesn't mean it's sensible. Even though a lot of these messages have good roots, the actual meaning of the tradition has been lost in translation. One practice that I've noticed, which can be harmful, is that many people have been told to transmute their negative feelings into positive feelings by changing their focus or meditating them away. This pretty much amounts to suppressing your feelings and becoming totally passive. Here's the actual definition of transmutation. To completely change something from one form, substance, or nature into another, often implying an elevation to a higher or better state. It is frequently used in physical, spiritual, and artistic contexts to describe a profound metamorphosis. Transmutation doesn't mean to ignore the presence of something like a feeling by directing your attention elsewhere. Also, doing this doesn't create a higher or better state. For example, imagine a coworker is consistently late to relieve you for your shift. It makes you angry, but you're trying to practice maintaining your inner peace, so you turn your focus to doing your job to the best of your abilities. When you get home from work, everyone has already eaten dinner, and you miss out on time with your children because they have to go to sleep soon. The act of redirecting your feelings did not create a better state. Feelings can alert us to the fact that something is not right, but it is up to us to use our logic to discern what we should do about our feelings. In some cases, we might find ourselves having a feeling that doesn't seem warranted. For instance, feeling jealous after seeing your partner speak with a beautiful person at a party. We know that it's silly and we shouldn't act on this feeling, but we shouldn't completely ignore it either. If you were to try to play it off like it didn't bother you, your partner would notice the tension and feel like you were upset with them anyways, but not know why. This would only create the very distance between the two of you, which you had feared in the first place. It's all in how you approach dealing with your feelings that makes the difference. With the coworker, you can be assertive without being aggressive. There's a difference between shouting at them, "Why the hell are you always so late?" versus approaching them with concern and curiosity. "Hey Joe, is everything okay? I've been noticing you haven't been able to make it to work on time lately." With our intimate relationships, we can share how we feel without making them feel like it's their responsibility to fix our feelings. Making other people responsible for your feelings is actually a form of codependency. So we don't want to do that either. If you were to say to your partner, "I know it's silly, but when I saw you talking to that beautiful woman, I felt a little jealous." That is a lot different than saying, you made me feel jealous when you were talking to that woman over there. The difference is saying, when you did this, I felt this way, versus saying, you made me feel this way. So they might respond to you by saying, no way, I felt the same way when I saw you talking to our neighbor last week. And you guys might have this nice little shared moment. But they might also say something like, are you serious? That's a little ridiculous. And you have to be okay with either response. Unless someone is purposefully being abusive, they cannot be held responsible for making us feel anything. People can do things that trigger us to have a bad feeling, but if that happens just because they are existing as an individual in the world, they shouldn't be nailed to the wall because of it. But keeping your feelings to yourself by trying to divert yourself would have eventually built up and created resentment in either situation with a coworker or with your partner. So it's a good idea to practice airing your feelings out respectfully, and also not expecting the other person to fix your feelings when you do so. Actually, the more that you pay attention to your feelings, you may actually notice a pattern. For example, you may notice that you tend to get very flustered when people rush you. After reflecting, you might remember that you were hit as a child when you didn't get ready for school fast enough. Now, if this happens again in the future, you can step outside of yourself and remember that you are safe now as an adult, and no one is going to hurt you if you don't get ready fast enough. So this is similar to the way that alchemists and occultists handle intense feelings. They become an aware observer by stepping outside of themselves, because they know that our bodies hold on to memories that we are not always consciously aware of at the moment. Consider the following case. Someone is traveling by railway. His mind is busy with one thought. Suddenly, his thought diverges. He recollects an experience that befell him years ago and interweaves it with his present thought. He did not notice, in looking through the window, he had caught sight of a person who resembled another intimately connected with the recollected experience. He remains conscious, not of what he saw, but of the effect it produced, and so believes it all came to him of his own accord. This was from a book called Knowledge of Higher Worlds by Rudolf Steiner, and he was a theologist and clairvoyant. He goes on to say, the student must devote special care to the thought life. They single out a particular thought and endeavor to link it onto only thoughts that are consciously and voluntarily produced. In this way, the unconscious elements that intrude into his soul will become fewer and fewer. Initiates work to stop negative feelings from taking hold in the first place by becoming aware of their thoughts. They do this by perceiving themselves as if they were standing outside of their body. They judge their automatic thoughts and decide which are acceptable to them. They are taught to think of their body as a vehicle for the evolution of their consciousness, and eventually perceive their spirit as separate from their body. For example, if they walk through a doorway, they will think he or she is walking through the doorway now. Changing thought patterns is a healthy way to rid yourself of negative emotions. Thoughts create emotions. Each thought creates an emotion that lasts for approximately 90 seconds. By playing certain thoughts over and over again, we can keep ourselves locked into a state of sadness, anger, or disappointment. Here's another example illustrating the power of automatic, unconscious thoughts on our emotions. Imagine the following situation. At a crowded football game, a woman shrieks loudly, stands up, slaps the face of the man next to her, and rushes out of the stadium. Several people are watching. Each reacts differently. One man is frightened. A teenage boy is angry. A middle-aged man is depressed. A therapist is curious. A clergyman is embarrassed. The same event triggered very different emotions in each of the observers. The reason lies in the automatic thoughts of each observer. The frightened man was slapped repeatedly by his shrieking mother as a child. He heard his mother's voice yelling, "What do you use for brains?" The angry teenage boy thought, "Women can get away with hitting men, just like my sister can hit me without getting punished. It's not fair." The recently divorced middle-aged man thought, "Doesn't anyone get along anymore? It's really sad." The therapist thought, "I wonder what he said to trigger that reaction." And the clergyman thought, "Wasn't that one of my parishioners? How embarrassing." This is an excerpt from Healing the Shame That Binds You by Dr. John Bradshaw. He says, "It is crucial for you to learn to pay attention to your internal dialogue, your own inner voices. The most destructive aspect of your inner voice has been referred to as your automatic thoughts. As you can see, the more aware we become of our feelings, the more we can become aware of our negative thought patterns. Feelings aren't meant to be ignored. They are meant to teach us something about ourselves or our environment. The only real transmutation of feelings is when we feel so strongly about something that it calls us to action, like a noble cause or creating something beautiful and inspirational in the world. Like a singer that experiences heartbreak and wants to make sure that no one ever feels alone in this feeling ever again, so they make a song about it. Another example would be a rape victim that is so angry with sexual predators that she takes self-defense classes and then teaches it to all the women in her community. Or perhaps a group of students are so stricken by the death of their teacher who died from cancer that they come together and start a fundraiser for cancer research. We must examine and analyze our feelings to determine if the cause of our feelings is warranted and think about the best course of action to honor them. Anger and grief are usually valid feelings, and we can acknowledge them and work through them in ways that are not self-destructive. A lot of times anger is misdirected. People may trigger our anger, and instead of being angry with that person, we should be angry with the way we were brought up or the way society made our parents think it was okay to be brought up that way. When we get angry at things like our partner making a mistake, that stems from a pattern that we learned from our caretakers getting angry at us for making a mistake. It's okay to let yourself feel, but it's what you do with that feeling that makes the difference. And feeling doesn't make you a damaged or defective person. After all, we're not robots. To exist is to feel. And existence is a privilege and a gift. So, my name's Amber. I'm a tarot reader. I hope you enjoyed this video essay that I made. And if you're interested in getting a reading from me, or if you're interested in one of my programs for overcoming trauma or undoing the conditioning of your parents and society to find out who the real you is so that you can have a more fulfilling life, you can check out my website. I have my programs on there. I'm very excited about them. They are very life-changing. And if it's not for you, that's okay too. I hope you enjoyed this video. And you guys take care. Bye.